So let me just start out by asking, what drew you to work for McLaren? Were you a Formula One fan?
Maybe. I watched a lot of Drive to Survive for my interview. No, I mean, why wouldn't you want to work for McLaren? What an amazing organisation to work for. And for me, you know, what an opportunity to be the first ever director of sustainability for a Formula One team and in our sport. So being innovative and pioneering in that space, being able to set up my own team and set a brand new strategy. It's a career forming opportunity, so I couldn't say no.
Great. Well, listen, you've said Formula One, it's a global sport that's based on constant innovation and development, and that a lot of the innovations in motorsports have really gone beyond the sport. I mean, why is that? What is it about Formula One that lends itself so well to innovation?
So, you know, we are an organisation that designs and manufactures 2 cars across a season, across a year. Yet we reiterate and are constantly developing new parts and new designs every year. So we're making thousands of cars in the space of 1 year, and that's exciting for sustainability, where we want to learn from that attitude and that approach of iterating, learning, leading into technology, finding solutions, learning from your failures, failing fast and starting again. And I think in sustainability we often are sort of focused on perfection, and we need to stop doing that and just keep going and trying and learning. If it doesn't work, trying again. And Formula One's brilliant at that. The other thing we're really good at is focusing on what's our absolute primary goal. So in the context of Formula One, it's how do we reduce lap time? We apply that to sustainability with really clear KPIs of what we're trying to achieve, what's going to make the biggest difference, and then going after that and being very data driven and doing that in a way that the data is informing the right decisions rather than just data for data's sake. So I think there's a lot of parallels in learning. The other thing about working in Formula One is I think we have the most incredible platform to use our voice to talk about the things that we're doing, the things that we can influence in terms of change, educating. We've got an incredible platform in terms of our fan base, being able to get the message out and help people understand why we're doing and that these can be positive changes for people's lives. And then we have an amazing partner ecosystem at McLaren, and you can't achieve these things on your own. So collaboration is really fundamental as well.
Great. Well, I know McLaren has really tried to be an innovator in the material space, being the first to use carbon fiber and pioneering recycled carbon fiber on your cars. For those of us who don't know the first thing about racing, why is carbon fiber so important? I understand that there's a potential 90% reduction in carbon emissions compared to virgin carbon fiber?
Yeah, so at McLaren Racing, we have set ourselves the target of following best practice standards in sustainability. We're the only team to have committed to net zero by 2040 and halve our emissions by 2030 and have that validated by the Science Based Targets Initiative. So we're not marking our own homework, we're holding ourselves up to accepted standards. And when we looked at our data and our carbon footprint, we found that materials were a very significant part of our impact. So that then led us to look at, well, carbon fibre is great for on-track performance. It's light and it's super strong, but it has a big carbon footprint. So then we started to look at, well, what if it was recycled? And we found a supplier who's taking the waste from the aerospace industry.
Really?
And then recycling it. So we decided to try and see what would happen. So we tried it on the car in Austin on a non-safety critical part, I would add. And then we tried it again on a different part at Silverstone last year. And now we're looking at, well, what next? And the thing about new materials is you have to think about how do we not compromise between on-track performance, and especially at the time now for McLaren when we're doing well. We never want to compromise that for sustainability, but we also need to find ways to balance that and innovate.
Okay, yeah. I know McLaren really wants to accelerate, no pun intended, the transition to a circular economy and develop a circular Formula One car in collaboration with Deloitte. I mean, can you talk about this collaboration, how it came about, and what was it about that attracted you to Deloitte? And can you also talk about the way in which you're trying to measure circulating with them?
Yeah, so when we looked at our impacts, we looked at where the opportunities were for to drive positive change, and part of our culture is being pioneering and brave and innovating. We saw an opportunity to let's create ourselves a moonshot of a fully circular Formula One car. We had no idea how we were going to do that, and we still don't quite.
Right.
But then we also realised we don't know how to measure this, and there's no equivalent of the greenhouse gas protocol out there for, at the moment, I know there's something under development for how we're going to measure this. So Deloitte's an amazing partner of ours, and we're always looking for collaboration opportunities in that space, and they've got a great circularity team. So we looked at, okay, well, if there isn't a standard out there, let's create one. And so we worked with them to look at how we're going to measure circularity, because what gets measured gets managed. And so we've developed a handbook that that can be used by any constructor within Formula One to measure all the materials that they use coming into their factory to manufacture a Formula One car across the season, and then what's wasted at the end, and you come up with a percentage of how circular your process for manufacturing a Formula One car is. And I think what people don't quite realise is what you see on track is less than 1% in the context of materials for all the materials we're using. Because we're constantly iterating and making models, and we even make our own tools, and we make our own bolts and screws and everything. So there's a huge amount of materials that we're using. And that's so important for us to think about how can we reduce that. It's good for business to not be wasteful. It's good for the environment in terms of resource scarcity, and it's good in terms of that whole sense of how can we be less reliant on external insecurity around our supply chains if we can get the maximum value out of the materials that we're using.
Okay, yeah. Speaking of partnerships, I know you also have a partnership with Ecolab. Can you sort of talk about that in terms of investing in sustainable aviation fuel, SAF, and the other endeavors?
Yeah, so we've looked at our total carbon footprint and realised that actually almost 25% of our emissions comes from aviation. That's both moving people and cars and garage material around the world to be able to deliver a season of racing. So we've been working with Ecolab to look at, okay, well, what are the opportunities to do that? And they're in a partnership with the Minnesota SAF Hub, where they're looking to invest and build an economy around sustainable aviation fuel. So we've, together with Ecolab, have invested in over 1 million gallons of sustainable aviation fuel, and that is compensating through insetting of all of our business travel emissions, and we'll continue to invest in that going forward in our logistics as well as our business travel.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. I was reading your annual report, and you talked in there about how you really expanded your climate program. You've worked with the Great Barrier Reef Foundation, supporting UNDO's enhanced rock weathering for carbon removal, and partnering with Momback to restore degraded areas of the Amazon rainforest. So obviously you've got a lot on your plate. Can you sort of briefly talk about all those?
Absolutely. So as part of our climate action program, part of what we wanted to do was not just look at how can we reduce our operational and supply chain footprint, but what else can we do to address climate change in the wider context. And we know that there are damaged ecosystems out there that need restoration, and we also know there's too much carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, and reducing is not enough. We have to also find a way to remove it and store it. So that's what that program is about, and Undo and Momback are about the carbon removal side of the program. But the Great Barrier Reef Foundation is just a really exciting and a bit of a passion project for me as well, because it came to us as a project that one of our engineers was, our supply chain team was watching a television program and saw that there was this coral reef restoration project on TV, and he said to me, "You've got to go and have a conversation with them." And so I did. And at McLaren, we have a team of in-house experts who take F1 engineering and know-how and our culture and high-performance mindset, and they help other industries, particularly within our partner ecosystem, apply that mindset, learning and approach to their businesses to drive positive change. And so we've done that with the Great Barrier Reef Foundation. And they have an amazing team of marine engineers who are working to restore the coral reef and using that as a sort of test bed for what you can do with coral reef restoration around the world. And we went in and looked at their process and said, look, if you took an F1 lens to it, we could enhance it by accelerating and scaling what you can do and reduce the cost of doing that. So we've done a whole sort of engineering analysis of their process, found opportunities to optimize that, and now we're helping them automate their coral reef assembly, their baby coral assembly, and plant that onto the reef so that you can scale it for hundreds of thousands to millions across the world.
Fantastic. Yeah, we have about 30 seconds left, so I just wanted to, at Axios, we have a tradition when a new employee starts, they always have to tell one fun fact about yourself. I understand you have a pretty good fun fact.
Yeah, so a lot of people hearing me and looking at me might not realize I'm half Singaporean. For me, that is something that's very obviously dear to my heritage and my heart, but also relating back to what I do, Singapore is at the forefront of technology and innovation as well. And they are doing some really exciting work around new technology to help with climate challenges and resource efficiency. And so I watch that with love and interest from afar.
Great. Well, unfortunately, that's all the time we have. Kim, thanks so much for joining us at Axios House.